All right, so here it is, the Ultimate Spider-Man by Jonathan Hickman. I still can't believe this book honestly even exists. When it got announced, I couldn't believe it. I remember hearing somewhere that just like someone was throwing out weird ideas, like, oh, imagine if Jonathan Hickman's doing Spider-Man. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, there's no way that he would. Jonathan Hickman has anything I've ever read from him, it's always been big scale Marvel, big concepts. And I gotta say, this book right here, like great start. I have been so detached from Spider-Man comics for a long time. I think the last time I really read a ongoing Spider-Man book was probably like the early Nick Spencer stuff. But even then, I don't know why I just kind of stopped reading it. But this book right here, I mean, I want to start talking spoilers, but just go read it. It's gonna be a great ride. I have faith in Hickman that this is gonna be great. Um, I mean, just so fresh. You have a Spider-Man that's middle aged. He has a family, and he's lived most of his life, just being normal Peter Parker. And the concept is just basically Peter Parker, getting his powers later on in his life. And I think to some people that sounds kind of but for people that have kind of followed the Spider-Man fandom, they've wanted, Peter and Mary Jane to be married again. They want a family. Like this is like kind of giving the fans what they want. Which is so exciting. I don't even know where to start really, but I, if you haven't already read it, I would read it. Yeah, Marco Cicchetto on art. He was doing Daredevil with Chip Zdarsky recently. Let's take a look at some of these variants. I mean, the main cover is just great, but main cover, David Marquez. Not as big a fan of that one, but all right. J. Scott Campbell. So many great things. So many great things to say. I mean, I loved the original Ultimate Universe, and I wasn't as excited, even though Hickman was attached to it. Like the idea of like a new Ultimate Universe. I've always had just fond memories of the Ultimate Universe. I think for a lot of people in the early 2000s growing up, that was their jumping on point to reading Marvel again. I think a lot of people fell back in love with Marvel with the Ultimate Universe. Stegman. Yeah, I love this. It's just it's weird. It's just a fresh concept. Going into spoilers, couple different things. There was an event that basically a lot of people died, and then well, there's the Maker. There's just so many things. Like on one hand, I would say this like, oh, this is a great jumping on point for people, but then at the same time, it caters to those pre-existing fans, people that have kept up with Hickman's work and the stuff with the Maker. So the Maker is basically pulling the strings on this Ultimate Universe, new Ultimate Universe. He's from the original Ultimate Universe. He's that version of Reed Richards, which that universe is gone. Um, so he's pulling the strings and basically made it so a lot of staple heroes in the Marvel universe would never come to be. And this universe's version of the Avengers, there's a young Tony Stark, a lot younger than what we're used to seeing with him, and he, uncovers what the Maker's done, and he makes it his mission to basically bring these heroes back into existence. And I don't know, I don't know if I'm going to be reading a lot of the other new Ultimate books. I'm definitely going to keep up with this one. If it's something Hickman's writing, I'll probably read it. If not, I'll probably wait for it to be on Marvel Unlimited. But as soon as this book got announced, I was just like, okay, I'm gonna have to drop a few things to fit this into my poll. But so the Maker, to kind of go back to what I was talking about, the Maker basically makes Tony Stark public enemy number one by killing tons of people, and one notable person is Aunt May. Others is like Norman Osborn. So they're kind of changing a lot of things. So instead, Uncle Ben is still alive. He's very close with Peter. He actually works at the Daily Bugle, and the dynamic is so fresh because I mean Uncle Ben has stayed dead for so long. So just to have him, and I hope they don't kill him off. I hope he stays in this book. Just because I think it's just like it's fresh. It's something, a new dynamic we haven't seen before. On the other hand, what's going to really drive Peter to be Spider-Man in this universe? It's essentially it's a fresh new Spider-Man. That it's a book I think I've been needing for a while. So I keep I'm going all over the place just because I'm very excited for this book. I can't stress it enough. So Peter, he he's kind of like he does like a lot of listening in this, and there's stuff going on with the Daily Bugle. It's going to be under new management ownership by Wilson Fisk. So we get introduced to this version of him, and which leads to J. Jonah Jameson and Uncle Ben to leave the Bugle, and with all the change that's going on, there's a lot of discussions on change, and Peter's kind of like saying to Uncle Ben, he's like, how can you just like, do this? Like, I could never do something like this. Like, I got my family. I could never just, change my life that drastically. And there's kind of like a speech that Uncle Ben has where basically kind of, he basically tells Peter, like, sometimes you just got to do it. You got to just jump and, make these decisions. And we come to find out, so Peter, he goes along, he's like talking to Mary Jane, he's kind of almost like moping around, and he's telling her that he needs a change, and like I think most people were like, oh, like are they setting up a divorce kind of arc? We got them married, like why would we split them up right in the first issue? But instead it is revealed that Tony Stark reached out to Peter and told him basically everything the Maker had done, kind of filling in the gaps for someone that just didn't read Ultimate Invasion, to essentially like this is what happened in Ultimate Invasion. I was actually kind of waiting to see like a little corner box to kind of explain that, but they kind of just didn't do it. They kind of just explained it for you. I okay, well, like I can't. I'm excited for this book. I'm so excited. I'm just trying to remember what everything that happens in this book. Yeah, so basically he tells him like the Maker took, your made it so you never got bit by the spider. This didn't happen. Um, and gives Peter the chance to become Spider-Man. Gives him a suit and gives him the spider. And that's how the book ends. And this is great artwork. Marco Cicchetto knocked it out of the park with this. And that's essentially what happens in the issue. I I cannot wait to see what Hickman's got planned. I'm excited for the Ultimate Spider X-Men book by Peach Momoko. I'll check it out. I mean, I'm a big X-Men fan. I think once again, Hickman's brought me back to a character I used to really love. I am a big X-Men fan, and Hickman did the same thing for me with X-Men. I lost interest kind of around the Bendis era of X-Men and just kind of stopped reading, and nothing really jumped out at me to bring me back until I see Hickman's, coming to X-Men. I see just bold new direction. Love Hickman as a writer. I always have. So I was all in. I was like, okay, bring me back. So I'm very optimistic that this time around he's gonna do something new, interesting. Um, he had some comments saying like, before this was announced, I'm working on something I said I never would, which is like makes sense because I never pictured Hickman on Spider-Man. I never thought he would do something grounded like this. A little more grounded, not as big concept. And I I don't know. I hope it lasts for a while. I don't think it will last nearly as long as the original Ultimate Spider-Man with Bendis. But you never know. I wanted to. I absolutely wanted to. I would love 100 issues of Hickman, anything. So first impressions, I gotta say this is a 10 out of 10 for me. I'm excited. I don't really have anything else to say about it other than go read this comic book. Yeah, definitely jump in. I always try to kind of gauge the books that I read as if I was only reading one of these books, it'd be enough. Mark Waid, World's Finest. That's a book where I'm like, okay, I if I only could pick one, I'd probably pick that. Same goes for Flash, but I'm biased because I'm a big Flash fan, and same thing with Batman. I mean, I can never get enough Batman, but this is a book that like I see kind of being in that same conversation of, it's just read this. I don't know how it's going to work with the bigger Ultimate Universe. I don't know if it's going to how much it'll tie in with other books. Um, I'm hoping it's just contained to this. I hope there's no bait kind of events crossovers. I'm okay with a crossover here and there, but let's just give me one title that I can enjoy and reread for years to come. But yeah, 10 out of 10 for me.